A Good Education by Mariano Dammacco. Translated by Adriana Rossetto. 1. Annunciation. It was an autumn night, and I was sleeping. I don't know how long I'd been asleep, when I heard a voice calling me from the living room. But I live on my own. So I plucked up my courage. I got up, and I went to see, and there, in the middle of the living room, there was an infinite crowd, and front row, in front of everybody, there were my dead parents. Unnaturally alive. There were the ghosts of my parents. The one of my mother had her hand in front of her face and was shaking, and I couldn't understand if she was crying or laughing. Instead, my father's ghost, not happy for having appeared there to terrorize me at that hour of the night, spoke. Imagine if he'd shut up. He said, "Daughter, you who have never taken care of anybody in your life, not even of yourself, you who are letting your womanly flower go dry, not even giving me a grandchild, you who for your uselessness would deserve that the locusts of Egypt be summoned to eradicate your internal organs, you, listen to me." And he said, "From tomorrow morning, your nephew, our nephew, blood of our blood, last heir of our ancestry will be your problem." And my mother added, "Now I'd like to see that. It'll be comical." So I said, "Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom, for your support, for sustaining me, for encouraging me, and for the trust you've always had in me." And as I was about to ask for more information, they, of course, poof, and disappear along with all the others. I tried to fall asleep again, even if at that point. But I must have fallen asleep because the phone ringing woke me up. A woman's voice told me, "Ma'am, your sister died tonight." She said it just like that, out of the blue, and then she told me, "Your nephew is here. You have to come get him." So I rushed to the hospital. I don't particularly love hospitals, that ward then. And there, outside of my dead sister's room, there he was. He says, "Hi, Auntie." "Hi, honey, how you've grown," I say. "Auntie, Mama died tonight." "I know, sweetie. They told me." "Sweetie, we must go now. You have to come with me." "Okay, Auntie," he said, and he burst out crying, and I too started crying. And then I got a hold of his hand, and while crying, we went to have breakfast at the hospital cafeteria. 2. Now I cry. Attachment number 1. Following the instructions that were given me by the Univocal Ministry of the Economy, hereinafter referred to as UME, I record in this little introductory audio note a short presentation of the educational project to participate to the call for entries for the adoption of the minor number 9999, hereinafter referred to as the minor, or young man, or my nephew, or boy, or sweetie, depending on the context. Okay, I confirm. I declare to accept unconditionally all the clauses of this regulation. Okay, I confirm. I declare I'll assume all responsibilities deriving from the public bidding for the provisory custody of the minor. Okay, I confirm. I declare I won't make any motion to appeal, whatever the outcome of the request is, given the following partial evaluations: economic, psychological, and legal evaluations, panel of experts, vote from the audience online, and final evaluation resulting in the definite custody of my sweetie. Okay, I confirm. I now present as requested the proposing subject. The proposing subject cries now. Cries a lot. Cries always, is really desperate even in front of all third parties. And I'll say, "Look how dear she is, how the two sisters were close." But I cry because now he is in my life. He's in the other room next door, and I hear him moving, making things, making noises, living in the other room. And then, let's state it clearly. If I had wanted to look after someone, really, if I had wanted to take care of someone who is incapable, I would have gotten married. with a beautiful ring on my finger like my mom and dad really wanted. And maybe if I really wanted to go above and beyond, I'd also have had a baby. Instead, I like to be alone. I love being alone. Oh boy, how I like being alone. And everyone says being alone is awful. Being alone is sad. You'll regret it. You'll die alone. Gosh, everyone ends up saying that, adding to the dread of passing away in solitude. And that's okay. I want to die alone, with lots of space around me. And then my parents' expectations are too high, and everyone says, but they're dead. Yes, but that's worse. They're even more present. Before, you knew they were there in their house, and you'd go on about your life knowing that they were there in their house. Now, they turn up in the living room, in the middle of the night, but I have work in the morning. And then, I'm only now starting to understand how hard it is, this profession of being a parent. Being a parent is not a piece of cake. It's hard, very hard. After all, it's not a coincidence. It's said to be the oldest profession in the history of the world. 3. The infinite city. The young man has nightmares every night. I hear him, I see him, and I freak out. So I touch him, I shake him a little, I talk to him softly so that my words would squeeze into where he is to bring him back here, but without waking him up, without scaring him. Tonight, he's complaining and crying, and he's shaking, and I can't stand it. And I wake him up. He reemerges, gasps for air, and says, "Auntie." And when he says "Auntie," he says it in a way that when he says "Auntie," I burst into tears. And then he says, "Auntie, what's going on?" "You were having a bad dream." "And why are you crying, Auntie?" "Because I don't want you to have bad dreams." And I hug him tight, and I kiss him all over, on one cheek and then the other and the nose, and I laugh and cry. And for a moment, while he's all sleepy, half here and half on the other side, he laughs too. And then he falls back asleep, and I don't. I stay there, baffled, and in some mysterious way, not alone anymore. And then I go to the window, I look outside, and I see this city, infinite, made of other infinite cities, all made by an infinity made by men. And I get the impression that I'm seeing it for the first time. And it scares me. Whoever has a kid offers destiny a hostage. 4. Communication. Communication is the basic obstacle. It should be a piece of cake. You say, "He's at home. I should talk to him." But it's not that easy. When I talk to him, I have the feeling that the kid is not following. The young man seems lost among words. I don't know if he's pretending or if he doesn't understand altogether. Fact is, I talk to him, he stares at me. I stare at him, but he's not there. Or maybe I'm not there. He looks right through me. My goodness. But I have to talk to him because I think at this point it's my duty to educate him. And then I have to step in. The young man does things I don't think he should be doing. In the morning, he doesn't want to wake up to go to school. He eats and drinks without a schedule. He drinks lots of Coke, which of course agitates him. He doesn't do his homework ever, really, ever. He's always playing video games. He locks himself up in the dark in his room, which, by the way, would be my room, with earphones on, and that huge toy gun in his hands. He screams, "Die, die, die!" My goodness. But I won't give up. And I start a personal journey of experiments to make contact with the kid. When you give orders to a German shepherd, you do it in German. A little bit because the dog is German, but mostly because the sounds are harsh, dry, convincing. Sitz, sit. Platz, stay. Fuss, go. So, to demonstrate to the kid that I'm a woman of a certain rigor, I say, "Brush your teeth. Turn off the TV. Do your homework. Leave me as you'd like to find me." It works and it doesn't, depending on many factors. So I tried the ancient and noble art of the Grammelot. He seems to have a feel for the sounds of it. I recommend the Grammelot as an intermediary step. He can follow the tones, the intentions, without getting overwhelmed with feelings because of the words, the syntax, the synonyms, the contraries, the grammatical analysis. But with sounds only and without the help of words, I struggle to handle the critical and delicate questions. But I have to do it. Sometimes I have to tell him, "No, But in front of a no, both in Italian and in German, the boy freaks out, makes weird noises, blows his lips, and rolls his eyes. I thought I even saw his pupils become elongated like a cat. I get very scared with this side of his personality. So I started another journey. And now I just say yes. I mean, the things he wants, I give them to him. Always. Everything. But I came up with a system. For example, I noticed that he eats the toothpaste. I don't tell him anything, but on the paste I wrote, "Not edible. It'll hurt you. This serves to brush your teeth, and that's all." On the bottle of Coke, I wrote, "If you drink this at night, then you won't sleep, and you'll end up like the crazy Mr. Antonio from the third floor." And on the bottle, I stuck a picture of Mr. Antonio from the third floor. But the consumption of Coke has not diminished, and that of toothpaste has grown. So I make another attempt, and fortune favors the bold. I start following soccer and its typical publications. Maybe I begin to understand. I try. I tell the kid, "We have to have a locker room talk." He doesn't even blink. He takes the earphones off, and he sits with a stern impression on his face, ready for a discussion. I tell him we have to set up the project for his future. He stares at me with an inquisitive look. I realize I'm not communicating in the right way, and I tell him, we need to decide if we're setting up your life with an attack strategy or with a defensive strategy. If the objective is the championship or surviving. Can we talk about it? He stares at me. I stare at him. I feel I'm at a crossroad in our relationship. Then he talks to me. He says, "I want happy." "In more detail, sweetie," I tell him very softly, so that this moment wouldn't go away. And he says, "I want happy. I want be myself. I want realize my dreams." And I try to ask further, but his eyes are already rolling. 5. Psychoanalysis. Today we go to the doctor. We have to go, but I don't feel like it, so I tell the boy we'll take our souls for a walk before going to the doctor. The doctor says to position the little soul of my nephew on the aluminum table. The doctor visits my nephew's soul. She touches it, investigates it. She makes it perform some unnatural movements. She manipulates it. My nephew's soul says, "Ouch," then giggles because of tickling, then says, "Ouch," and then giggles some more. The doctor orders an X-ray scan of his soul. She calls me aside and she shows me the images. She tells me the young man is forming a long series of losses, and that the death of his mother, my sister, is just the last one in chronological order. She tells me that the X-ray clearly shows the dark spot of his father leaving. She tells me that when the young man was 10 years of age, the father left home. He fell in love with a young woman who was 19. He dyed his hair blonde, stole all the boy's clothes, and left on a boat, like a modern Ulysses, to try to catch up on the time he had lost, to find his destiny, his demon, the realization of his natural talent, the realization of the self, the demon, after all, or a second and possibly definitive youth that, for whatever reason, would have been located in the magnificent isles of the Pacific Ocean. She says that every year in the Western world, 2,700,000 men between the ages of 40 and 50 run away from home. I didn't know that. But that's not all. She tells me that the father, once a month, would get in touch, but then he stopped. The last sent message is a brief video in which we can see a female crocodile, and then we see the father of the boy getting closer, and then we see the mouth of the crocodile, and then nothing more. And so this is how we declared the death of the father figure. I say, "How terrible." She says yes, and not only that, the boy will never again have an easy relationship with crocodiles, especially with the female species of this animal, with an eventual correlation also with frogs, iguanas, and amphibious animals of every genre. Then she shows me another X-ray image and says, "Besides, the boy has introjected the ISIS, the international terrorism, and now the boy is scared of RVs." I tell her that I don't think the boy is scared of RVs, and she tells me that the boy won't mention it because he's afraid that they'll kill him. Is ISIS targeting my nephew? I ask her. And she keeps showing me X-rays after X-ray, and they're full of black spots, and she keeps talking, but I'm not listening anymore. I stare at her with my eyes wide open, and meanwhile, inside of me, I start crying again. And then it's my turn. I tell my soul that if it feels pain, it mustn't show it. It has to pretend that nothing is happening. I'm afraid that my soul could receive a negative evaluation in the call for bids. 6. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I think we can define it a small communication error. I made my entry at the boys' class council, and in the meeting's agenda there were 20 lashes for the Italian professor that were to be executed publicly during the recreational break in the school courtyard nearby a pillar, because the poor professor unintentionally said that the kids were ill-behaved, and everybody got offended, everybody was outraged, but I dared coming out in defense of the professor. A huge mistake, I now realize. They blamed it on me. A woman said that it was clear that I was not the natural mother of the boy, that I don't care at all for him, and that they shouldn't give me custody. Now I would have cried, but I resisted. In fact, I doubled down and negotiated until I obtained only 5 lashes, the best I was able to do for the poor professor. But I made a mistake, because now they all blame me, and now I'm under attack. In the WhatsApp group chat titled The Dear Parents of the 3rd Grade Class, and also on the same Facebook page. They write gross and sexist insults, they're blunt. I mean, they write real obscenities. They write against me on the internet, the parents of this class and of other classes too, the parents of other cities as well. I have insults coming from Holland. I mean, I think they're insults for the emoji shaped as poop and the crying faces. They write that they'd leave their kids with the devil rather than me. And they also write, tell me who she is and where she lives, I'll take care of it. What do they want to do? Kill me? Do they want an army to gather underneath my place? And people put their likes, lots of likes, even my sweetie liked the comment. And now I'm afraid that I've forever lost the online vote of the jury. And then my father's ghost told me that I'm the typical individualist, the usual naysayer, that I never think of the consequences of my actions. And then my sister's ghost told me that it is clear that I'm not the natural mother of the boy. 7. Abstinence. First thing, I grab my smartphone, I turn it off, I put it in a drawer, and I lock it in, showing the kid the entire sequence of movements. Then I ask the kid to give me his smartphone, but he doesn't want to. I insist. I try to warn him with a harsh admonishment, very harsh. I move around him in circles and I tell him stuff like, I am a badass and I don't want you to like me, little goofball. Or, boy, did your parents also have normal kids? At that point, the boy is dumbfounded. And I take advantage of his state to get the smartphone from his hands. The kid screams, throws a tantrum, damns himself and his entire life, damns his parents that left him in the hands of a frustrated dictator who messes him up. That would be me. Here I am. I think, I can't give up now. I do it for his own good. I start with unplugging the video games. I put them in a box and I put the box in a closet. The boy goes to the window. He howls in pain, in authentic, potent pain. He's gasping for air, his face red. I'm afraid he'll faint, but I keep going. I unplug the TV. The thing hits me more than him. I tremble, but don't fall. I lock in a closet the 3 computers we have at home. The boy is feverish. I clearly hear the phrase, "Oh, mother, I was born to die young, but in exchange the thundering Olympic Zeus owes me at least some honors." I really don't know what to think, and I go to pack the stereo system in a box. I don't see the boy anymore, but I hear him laughing. I look for him, and I find him in the bathroom. He has started the washing machine and is looking at it, commenting enthusiastically. The blue towel cuts the trajectory of the sheets, but there, ladies and gentlemen, they both disappear. A shiver runs through my spine, and I turn off the washing machine. I hide the food mixer, I turn off the fridge and everything. I unplug the electricity from the entire apartment. Darkness. An end of the 800 type of silence envelops us. I light some candles, 1 for each room. In the shadows, the boy tries to threaten me, threatens to carve his eyes out. I stubbornly respond to him, "I really want to see that, it'll be comical." The boy screams all evening, shouts, complains. Never have I ever heard him talk so much. He alternates between moments of rage in which he demands a change of coach and moments in which he begs me, tells me I'm right. But please, at least the phone, at least the phone, at least the phone. Then we have dinner, literally, by candlelight. I tell him, "Sweetie, can you feel it? Can you perceive it? This is the moment in which we can restart a dialogue. Let's talk." But all he says is that he wants his machine back, so I get mad and send him to bed without dinner. Sleeping is impossible. From the room of the boy, which, by the way, would still be my room, I hear dull thuds against the wall mixed with whimpers. Thud, whimper, thud, whimper, thud, whimper. At 4:48 a.m., I reconsider my entire existence in a negative key. I cry and think that I couldn't have imagined how important it would have been to have the TV turned on in the background so that I could fall asleep. So, I go out on the balcony to smoke a cigarette. At the window, I see the boy, with his nose smashed against the glass, attentively staring at the green cross of the pharmacy. I read his lips. And now the sequence of crosses of various dimensions are restarting one inside of the other, the huge one and then the big one, the medium and the small and the tiniest of all, and now again a triumph of green and electricity. Ladies and gentlemen, watching this spectacle is a privilege. We'll be able to say that we were there. I was there in front of that pharmacy's sign when it manifested its beauty. So I go to his room. I stare at him, he stares at me, he cries, I cry, he says, "Auntie, me begs you, you have pity of me. I have done nothing bad to you." I don't answer. I hug him tight. I kiss him on the forehead. Then I turn back on the electricity and all the machines, and we watch videos, films, video games. We make milkshakes and wash our clothes for 10 days. For 10 days we stay there, and we do not leave the house. 8. The City of Voices. And so I saw the City of Voices. In the City of Voices, everyone was reared by the voices. One day the voices said to silence, "Go away from our city. They don't want you." No one protested. Just Thought, who was silence's best friend, felt he was against this sentence, but he kept the feeling in its thoughts, and even silence, for coherence, didn't say anything. It went away and traveled the world without a destination, without anyone to talk to, and when it returned to the city after a long time, the children who had never seen it were afraid of it. So silence was banned by law from entering the City of Voices. And it was like this that Thought died of a broken heart. 9. Poltergeist. Tonight, around 4 a.m., as usual, my father's ghost woke me up and told me, "Remember to sign him up for high school. Within the week. This memo will repeat itself with increasing frequency as the deadline approaches. Your mother says hi." Poof. So during the evening, I ask the young man where he would want to go to high school. He tells me, "With Mom, I thought I'd study odontology. So, work, money, peace. With money, I do what I want." The project is clear, very clear, but I don't like it. I ask him if he thought of all the options and what made him decide so, but he gets annoyed. I insist and he gets even more annoyed and tells me, "You sign me up where you want." Did you see that? He shrugged. So I go back, I try. I ask him if he's thought about studying literature. He answers that he gets bored even just with the name of it. I raise my gaze. Ovidio, Plinius, Quinto Horatio Flacco, Socrates, Plato, and the rest of the company are standing around the boy with an indignant and threatening look. I tell them to be patient and go away, that this is already hard enough. I tell the boy that maybe if he goes to high school to study literature, he will grow into a man. The kid tells me he doesn't understand me when I talk to him, but that he'll think about it and that we can talk tomorrow. And I think with terror that I'll be woken up at 4 a.m. by the memo from the good soul of my father. But I'm wrong, because at 4 a.m. I am still awake. At 12 o'clock, something begins. All the furniture in my house takes on a life of its own. My sister's ghost is mad. She opens and closes all the furniture of the kitchen, bathroom, and living room, the doors, the closet, the drawers, and then my sister appears. Fire in her eyes, she flies and circles in the living room, very upset. She tells me, "Don't judge me. Don't judge my son. Above all, don't you dare judge him." She says, "Now you come, you, the brain of the family, to fix my mistakes. I, the ignorant one, throwing my son's existence out of whack." She says, "I think that you should know your place and keep your role as the kid's guardian, and not as artistic director of his life. Poor son of mine, he is mine, not yours. And by the way, it is clear that you are not the natural mother of the boy." There are moments in which, even when someone knows how to control their feelings, someone who has learned how to control themselves, and even if that someone admits that they were not able to control themselves once, but who then had learned how to dominate every single bit of themselves, there are moments in which even such a person can lose control and say to her dead sister's face, "My nephew shall have come to this earth and know even more of the molar than of himself. My nephew will be the emperor of the molars. Cavities, crooked teeth, or teeth in ceramics or in titanium. My nephew will win the Nobel Prize for mouth braces. Tartar will fear him. Enamel will glorify his name. And when Sister Death will come for him asking him, 'Well, how have you spent your time?' My nephew, on his deathbed, but with all teeth in perfect condition, will articulate his exact answers like this. I studied, I followed the orders, I was all right. I think I was happy. At that point, my sister started to crawl on the ceiling and turned her head 360 degrees. Oh my goodness. And then she wrote in red on the wall, "Tomorrow you will sign up my son, not yours, to study odontology, or you'll never have peace on this earth." Then she turned all the lights in the house on and off for 7 times, and during the last moment of darkness, she disappeared. 10. The recipe for happiness. Mom. 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 Happiness. Happiness. But when, Mom? A well-behaved son, respectful. But happy? Who said that? Who made him think of that? Once, when I was 7, I think, we were coming back from the beach with our entire family. Dad was watching the news. The 2 of us, twins, were playing on the floor by the window, and you, at a certain point, took out of the oven an eggplant parmigiana you had made. There, in that moment, I think I was happy. Because at the restaurant, sometimes, when they bring the parmigiana among the appetizers, I cry. Today I made an eggplant parmigiana, or maybe more honestly, I should say that I tried to make an eggplant parmigiana. It didn't come out right. I had to throw it away. But I had promised the kid, more than promised, I had pre-announced it. I had mentioned the coming of the eggplant parmigiana days ahead. So I went out and I searched for it everywhere until I found it at Walmart. It had no taste, Mom. It had nothing to do with yours, but the boy liked it, and he said I should make it again. See, Mom, now I know that Walmart sells it, but I'd like to try to make it again. Can you explain to me how you used to do it? Can you give me a recipe, Mom? Wait, Mom, let me grab pen and paper. 11. The tragic story of Annette. The boy had stopped eating, he started wearing cologne, and wanted to take showers. There is no doubt he's in love. I take it as a personal victory, as my first positive mark on the boy. I'm euphoric and curious, so I turn on the computer and I look for news of my nephew. There. Annette, I love you. I love Annette. Annette, you're the sweetest thing. His infatuation must be called Annette. She must be foreign. I'm proud of my boy for not being xenophobic. So I follow him, or better, I spy on him. He spends hours in front of a shopping window of a home retail store. Annette must be foreign and be a store clerk. But let's not rule out that she could be the daughter of the shop owners. One day I'm walking by the store by chance, and I tell him, "Sweetie, how weird to meet you here. If you're looking at something you like, we can buy it. Let's go in." The boy says, "Yes, Auntie, enter, buy, I like." I enter the shop and I start reading all the shop clerks' name tags, and I already see myself in church, front row next to the altar, on the wedding day of my sweetie and Annette. The exchange of vows. Yes, I do. Yes, me do. And then at the exit, throwing rice on them for good luck, he turns towards me and tells me, "Thank you, Auntie. I happily married." And I melt, tears of joy from my eyes. The young boy's voice wakes me up from my daydreaming. "You come, Auntie. You look. You buy for me." But what I see is too much. My nephew, blood of my blood, last heir of my ancestry, smiles dumbly and points at a lamp called Annette. A beautiful floor-to-ceiling living room lamp by an Austrian designer, priced at 695 euros. Annette is tall, slim, narrow, sinuously long and with a curved back, its head a glowing blonde lampshade. Something about Annette reminds me of my sister. He's in love with the lamp, I think. And every drop of blood in my veins freezes. The blood flow stops flowing and the heart stops beating. I thought I was ready for everything, but this everything that we try to imagine is never enough. Finding myself in this dramatic situation all of a sudden, I don't know what to do. And I buy him Annette. That same evening, I cooked dinner for 3, and here we are at the table. I can't say anything. The lamp doesn't even touch her food. There's tension in the air, electricity, but the infatuation lasts only a few days. One night, I hear a lot of noise coming from the boy's room. I go in. The young man is frozen. He's breathing heavily. He sees me and says, "I couldn't turn it off anymore. Broken switch, broken switch, broken switch." All around him, the body of Annette in pieces on the floor. The base, the long and slim body, the head without its wig anymore, and the light bulb broken, making a buzz, buzz sound and turning on and off. I walk towards Annette, who very softly tells me, "It's easy to get mad. Everyone is capable of that, but it's not easy, and even more, it's not for everyone, to get mad at the right person, in the right way, in the right moment, and for the right reason." Then Annette faded away forever. 12. The word goal. One day during lunch, the boy tells me, "Auntie, can you take me to see the soccer team, the Juventus?" And I answer, "The Juventus?" He tells me that his friends and him are huge fans, and that all his friends are going to the game. The Juventus. I think about it, and I feel like I'm dying inside when I concede, "Sure, hun, let's go see the old lady." This is the time that my sweetheart and I will spend together. Sector 3, row 12, seats 33 and 34. The match starts, and I'm almost falling asleep when the Juventus scores a goal. Scores the goal. We all jump up on our feet. 37,242 souls, including the season passes. We become a unified voice. One body, one breath. Everything happens in 7/10 of a second. Goal! And everyone jumps up. Goal! And they hug. Goal! They say goal. They repeat it, the word goal. And I feel that in the entire city, in front of every TV, in every home, and in every bar, everyone is unanimously saying goal. In the hospital, the newborns say their first word, and that word is goal. The dying say their last word, and that word is goal. Goal, goal, goal. My nephew says, and he's happy, and I see him, and I'm happy, and I say, goal! My nephew hugs me for the first time and says, "Auntie, goal, we scored, goal." He hugs me again, tighter. I feel his grip. He squeezes me and bounces, and I bounce with him, and all the world around us is bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. I tell him, "Sweetie, are you happy?" And he tells me, "Happy, Auntie." These are 3 very important points. We go away as the sun is setting. We put our coats on. We walk fast to go get the car, same as everyone else. We're in this crowd, all dressed in white and black stripes. This crowd goes back home, walking swiftly. There are some small tensions. Some kids are still rejoicing the experience of the goal, but the dad is already in a hurry. It starts raining. I cry. "Auntie, why crying?" "Honey, Auntie is crying because she's happy." 13. The city of emotions. And then I saw the city of emotions. In the city of emotions, everyone lives for their emotions. Who doesn't own emotions or doesn't know where they have put them can live someone else's emotions, can live someone else's entire life, from emotion to emotion, from desire to desire, from satisfaction to satisfaction, from frustration to frustration, from illusion to illusion. On the door of the city of emotions, there's this writing: "We have invented happiness." 14. The revocation. And then, one night, at an unusual time, around 1:30 a.m., my parents arrive, followed by an infinite crowd of shadows and dark faces. They don't say anything. They're less agitated than usual. They seem serious, very serious, but they don't talk. Then, my father talks and says, "These things happen. You don't have to feel any kind of guilt. We're a little ashamed for having to tell you, but be brave. The custody was revoked. No confirmation of continuation." I stare at him. I'm only capable of saying, "My sweetie." I cry. And then I say, "Was it the doctor?" My mother says, "No, she defended you. She says that you have a problem, that you are a particular type of sociopath, but that your illness is not invalidating." "Was it the jury online?" I ask. My father says that the jury had no legal authority. What? I had no idea. Then he says, "Your nephew, our grandson, the last heir of our ancestry, didn't choose you as his mother. and the jury thought it would be right to support his choice. The boy says you don't make him happy, that he doesn't understand you when you talk, that you bother him, and that, poor boy, you're always making his eyes roll. He reported you to the emergency hotline 4 times. 4 times in a few months. Come on. I cry. And talking, while I cry like a little girl, I say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. I will ask to have him back. I'll make an appeal. I'll find some legal technicality, and they'll give me the boy back. They'll give him back, Mom. Mom, will they give me back my boy? But poof, and they were gone. The end.